Turn to the teacher. Turn to the teacher. Turn to the teacher. Turn to the teacher. Turn to the teacher.
And welcome back. I'm Mike with the Turntable Teachers, and class is officially back in session. We are here for another guest speaker episode, and we are here tonight with the China Blue, Providence, Rhode Island, alternative pop artist, originally from Boston, Massachusetts, I should say. What city exactly?
Like around Fall River, Dartmouth, Westport, South Coast.
Got it. All right, so you're down that way. Awesome. Well, welcome back to the show. Actually, if you guys are have been a fan of the show for a while, I did my research project, the how the coronavirus has impacted the music industry. The China Blue was a very instrumental part in helping me with that project, and so he's got some music that's being put out just recently, and some new stuff on the way very soon. And I figured, hey, we got to get him on the show for a guest speaker episode. He helped us out, so he's here. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me again. Always appreciate it.
Yeah, no, seriously, it's a good one. I'm excited. Lot to talk about with you. You got a ton going on. We're just watching you from afar. I'm proud and excited for what you have going. I think your sound is. I think that is the big calling card for you is your unique sound. I think you're really doing the alternative, almost bedroom pop sound really well. So I'm just curious, like what has driven you to do that sound and really kind of like throw yourself into the pop scene. What was the what has really developed that for you?
I guess because I started writing like my own stuff within the past like few years, stuff that would be fitting for my voice, but there's no like intention or like inclination to do any sort of like style or sound, but I guess just like some of my inspirations, like Michael Jackson, like he's my number one, so like his voice, like his vocal stylings and like rhythms are like I feel like integral whether they sound it or not. Like he's been my number one, and then I don't know, I take a lot from everywhere. Like I'll take from Lorde, I'll take from the Police, I'll take from Kanye. Like I do honestly take from like emo too, like emo lyrics, putting that against like danceable rhythms. I just try to mix whatever I'm into. I don't know. Yeah.
No, that's awesome, and I think that that has kind of for you developed a sound that I think is like your new single "Afford It." I really enjoy that song a ton. And it's interesting because I feel like it's kind of like you said, it's like it definitely sounds Michael Jackson inspired. It's got that throwback though, like 80s feel to it, but you have almost like a new age way that you're doing like the synth pop thing. And so I'm really excited to see like what you have next. And I think it's a sound that is kind of coming back. You're seeing even like bigger artists like The Weeknd get into like that type of pop music. So I think for you. I think your voice sounds well with it and sounds really nice with it. But one of the things I've done my research on you, read some articles, even just on our conversations, it seems like you are you see yourself as a writer first, and just from an English teacher, like being an English teacher, like I love that and respect that. So like, how did you get into writing? Like, were you always writing songs? Did it start with writing maybe like poetry? Like, tell me a little bit about yourself as like a writer.
I would say like that in the sense of not just lyrics, but music too. I've always been way more focused on like the studio thing than like nailing an instrument. Like I'm not really, like I play enough to write for myself, but I'm not like fantastic at any instrument. But yeah, and that's my main focus, is writing songs. So I'm always working on like my lyrical chops, ways to get like ideas from my head like into something that's like digestible, and yeah, I think that's where I feel most comfortable, and that's my biggest focus, like just being super honest, treating my music like a diary as opposed to like obviously there's things I'll inflate or make like a story out of, but it's very much like from a real spot, and I want it to be treated like that as opposed to just like saying random words. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I like your writing a lot, and especially on this new song, Afforded. It was very much about the dangers or the of adulting and the anxieties and pressures that come with being an adult and growing up and all that. What was the inspiration behind that track? And maybe break down some of the, like, obviously some of the lyrics for me. Like, I love how your hook is just so kind of blunt and but it just works, right? It's just like, I would buy you things if I could afford it. It's just so relatable to, I think, a lot of people. You know what I mean? I think that's why it's getting the reception that it is.
No, absolutely. Like, that's pretty much it. Like, I have difficulty like forcing. Like, I don't want to hide certain things. Like, I legitimately like wasn't in a great financial situation at the time. I was going through relationship issues, going through I don't know, just dealing with all my failures and becoming an adult. Like, my parents moved down south, so it's literally just me up here. I have like cousins around, but my support system very much narrowed, and a lot of it, everything on this EP too, will kind of be a reaction to that. Like, just everything I've gone through during this like year or two or so. But yeah, a lot of it's just me taking the piss at myself, and it's a way to get over it. I don't know. Like, it's a way to, like, it is, like I said, it is in some senses like emo, or like kind of just straight up like whining a bit, but if I put it over something danceable, then it's way more like easy for me to process and for other people to process.
Yeah, I love what you're like. You're saying that your writing's a lot like a diary in a sense, and I see that, and I think that that's an important thing for people that are, excuse me, more or less, artists and musicians. I think that you're writing from a vulnerable and I don't know, like, just deeper place. You know what I mean? Like, something that is some kind of slice or version of who you are, right? I mean, I know you say some things get exaggerated, and obviously that's a part of the craft, a part of just artistry as itself. But there's those little inklings of truth behind your lyrics, like that will, I think, in essence, give you the more, I don't know, like the fans that will stay, the audience that will stay with you like a lot longer, because you're making those connections. Like, just for me, like personally, like I just said, like, everybody can to some extent relate to that struggle of like, oh yeah, I wish I had the money to just throw in and all that. But I really like your aesthetic on the song, and the music video is or the snippet on Instagram you have for the music video is pretty great. So tell me a little bit about making that music video, and when can we actually expect the full thing? I'm getting a little impatient, man.
I know, I wanted it out a little bit sooner, but we're taking the time and trying to make it as technically impressive as we can. Like, I want it to be a step up. And we have like a lot of collaborations in it too. Like, I didn't want to put so much of the video out, but that's not even like a full representation of what it's going to be. There's a lot of like cool 3D animation and stuff done by my friend Josh, and I have a great crew. Mason Pimentel is directing it. My friend Cole is producing it. I have my friend Mac, my photographer, he's helping out. But probably sometime within a month, I think. Okay. But I think like it will be worth the wait.
I think so too. Just from the snippet, I'm like, yeah, I can definitely see where this is going, and I enjoy it. I think even you have a good on-camera presence too, I feel like.
I appreciate that. It's all methodical. I'm not naturally like that.
You did mention too, you got a new EP coming out, and Afford It is a single from the EP. Is that correct? So, what can fans expect from the EP? Is it going to be sort of a consistent sound like Afford It? Will it be a little bit less? Will it be more experimental? Like, tell me a little bit about the message or the creation process behind the EP that you have coming out soon.
I think it'll be a little bit different than Afford It. Like, I'd say Afford It's the number one like club kind of like high energy one. But it is very cohesive. I had a track listing and then I changed it a bit, and now I finally have it. But now listening to it as of like past 2 days, it's sounding super like cohesive, and I feel like if you like Afford It, you'll like whatever else is on there. But it's also not samey. Like I have some slower songs. I do have like an acoustic song on there that's really personal about a friend who passed away. Yeah, I think it comes from me. It'll be like the same type of thing. Like I'm going as honest as I can, and like I feel like my last EP was very like youthful and figuring out the music thing, figuring out like my sound. This one will be slightly more packaged, but more honest and revealing, I think. And it'll just be in the same way like Afford, it's like a reaction to adulthood. It's like the same kind of thing. Just a lot of like personal like anecdotes about what I've been going through, and I want to keep doing that like with every release, but yeah.
Well, you're a different person now than you were when you made your first project. You know what I mean? Like you've had different experiences. I think that that's a testament to that. I think there's going to be, I just have a feeling just listening to your old past stuff and then this, I feel like there's a sense of maturity. There's a sense of self-awareness as well with it. And so, like I said, I think that will take you a long way. And I appreciate that from you as an artist. And so I'm pumped for the EP. Is it okay if we play a little clip of Afford It for some listeners of ours to get a little feel for the song?
Of course.
Let's do it. All right, we'll take a quick break. Here is the China Blues' brand new single, Afford It. All right, and that was the China single. Oh my God, China single. And that was the China Blues new. That was good. That was good. A little tongue tied there. Here's the China singles new a blue. Oh shit. That was the China Blues brand new single, Afford It. Everybody, welcome back. Mike here, stumbling over his words. Currently actually in quarantine for a couple of days as well, as I had a COVID exposure. So here I am. I'm out of it, man. I don't know. The isolation's already getting to me, clearly. But either way, we are back with the China Blue. Enough about me. You guys don't care. So he's got a new EP coming out soon. That single you just heard, Afford It. You got the new video coming out pretty soon. And you just also dropped another single with Dev Soter, Shaking Bodies, another artist from Massachusetts that I have really come on to specifically through you guys as manager Tyler, and knowing he's a Salem guy. I'm from that area of Massachusetts as well. And yeah, the single's awesome, Shaking Bodies. I really liked his last single as well, The Hills. But what is it like for you guys to have a creative relationship and be able to work on some music together? I see you guys have been hanging out a bunch, just given obviously the connection between Tyler and et cetera. So, what's that been like working with him? And do you guys have anything else coming along the way?
Dev's great. Before honestly meeting him, I mean, it's kind of still the case, but I don't have, I would say, a bunch of musician friends for whatever reason, not intentional at all, but I probably have, at least like even my roommates, they're all like media arts, and I've kind of viewed the China Blue very much like that, but there's kind of like a hole I needed somebody who I can bounce ideas back and forth with. I needed I don't know, just even if it's not in the collaboration sense, somebody I can just text like at any hour and just be like, hey, check this out, like, and in pure honesty tell me like what needs work or whatever. But it's been great. Me, Tyler, and him all get along great. We're all giving this thing a shot together, trying to help each other out, and yeah, he's been honestly essential. He's helped me. He's definitely pushed me to work on my speed a bit, which is the biggest thing I can say to him. Like I think he's so quick, and like I look up to that. He's so quick with like writing lines, writing songs, and he's helped me to kind of relax and not worry about some of like the little tiny details that I get frustrated on. And yeah, he's been essential. That song is really interesting. Like I wrote that hook and sang it in like an hour and a half period. And I think it turned out pretty well. I like the way it came out, but that's a fun little thing about that. Like
Yeah.
we didn't think anything was gonna come of that really, and it just it came into something cool.
Yeah, because you have to, that has to come organically, right? You guys can't just like force make a song. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you could if you're just like, whatever, for whatever, just to be creative. But that, yeah, you like, I think that's a good thing too, to have somebody in your life that'll check you a little bit on some of your like. It sounds to me like you're a bit of a perfectionist. I'm kind of the same way, so I get that the sense of it. You want your product and your content to be, obviously the best it can be, and that's the big goal, obviously, for all of us. Making, being creatives and making content. But it is good to have somebody like that can check you and be like, hey man, like, don't put so much pressure on yourself. Like you do, give you those like wiser sense of encouragement. And again, I think you probably help him in a lot of ways too, that he would probably speak on. So, I think that's really nice that you guys have that kind of connection, and that it does seem like you guys are a team in essence, right? You guys are trying to all, do this together, and that is important, right? Because same with us. Like we're building a team over here, and it's like I've realized that too. It's I don't know. I this is the way I kind of look at it. It's like why have 100% of like, let's say $500 when you could have 10% of like $5 million. You know what I mean? Like there's such a difference there. Like, and if you can have a team that everybody plays their role and like you guys rely on each other and things like that, I think that like really bodes well, because you do need people in order to be successful. You can't do it all alone. So
No, absolutely. It's honestly like they're some of my like biggest supporters and support system, and it is really essential, and I'm learning even more so now. Like now that I have like another musician, I have a few more friends obviously, but he's been like just always there and like integral to like keeping me motivated. And like I don't know if I've said it last time, but you need friends that are not just here for a good time. And he's definitely one that I know I'll always have him, which is great.
yeah, absolutely. No, I totally understand that, and I mean, really, it does come out in the music too with your guys' single. Like I said, I really thought that it was a really, really fun track. So, like I said, guys, make sure you check out Shaking Bodies out all on all platforms, as well as Afford It. And like I said, a lot coming soon from the China Blue, no doubt. Another thing I wanted to talk to you about as well. So you moved from Massachusetts, from Fall River, and now you're in Providence, Rhode Island. And so I was just curious for you, like, what's it been like, that transition being in Providence? What do you maybe like about the city, and how has it maybe like helped your artistic growth, if at all?
I don't know. I think I was definitely like born to live in this kind of environment. Like obviously Providence is not like ginormous, but it is definitely a major change from like living in more rural and country areas from like South Coast Mass. I think I don't know. I just like it way better. I went to North Carolina to visit my family a couple of months ago, and going to that, like I realized how much kind of stimulation I need. Like just sitting out there, like hearing the birds chirp with like nothing to do. I was going crazy a little bit. So, yeah, I get way less annoyed with like car horns and like people than honestly just some of the country. I don't know.
Interesting.
But I being in the city now, it keeps me so much more motivated. I like having something to do always. Like the fastness kind of keeps me out of trouble. Like if I have too much of just sitting around, then it's not good for me. So
No, I hear you. Like I lived outside Boston for a year, and I will say it was probably like the best year that I ever had in my life, just for a lot of different reasons. But I think, like you said, the accessibility, and now it's a little bit different given the circumstances of COVID and things like that. But on a regular, normal, routine of a day that doesn't involve a pandemic, being in the city, I think, or near a city is good. And dude, I've been down to Providence a couple of times. I'm a big fan. I think it's an underrated city. There's a couple of cities in New England I think that people overlook a bit. Portland, Maine, excuse me, is one, and I think Providence, Rhode Island is another. There's artistic people, I think, in both.
yeah, and it's hugely artistic, underrated in that sense, but there's like, it's so easy to like network and communicate with people because like, I don't know, in the sense of like Boston, I feel like it's huge. A lot of it's like business like oriented. Not to talk about Boston in a bad way, but I think just Providence, there's a certain like energy here that's like young, and I don't know, it's a great way to network and communicate with other people. There's a huge, like, everybody's kind of on the same page. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a city, but it's not like such a fast city like a Boston. And I think to an extent, I've always felt that way a little bit about New York, believe it or not. Like every time I've gone to New York, for me, it's overwhelming. I'm like, oh, like Boston's enough city for me. You know what I mean? Whereas New York, I'm like, whoa, but I will say, like, there's things about New York I really like opposed to Boston, but it's just such a fast city.
Yeah. Even like, yeah, the energy here is very like unique. I don't know, because it is like a big city downtown, but it's also like really small. So I don't know, it's kind of accessible in a way that I like more than I've gone out of like Boston. I think New York is definitely cool. It is definitely overwhelming, I would say. Like, definitely, I would have a much harder time getting what I want to get done, and even the cost.
Oh yeah, I can imagine that the cost is extremely well. Maybe not even so now. It's interesting because I think because of the pandemic, a lot of the cost in Boston has definitely gone down from what I've heard. Just because just because everyone if you think about it, it makes sense, right? Because if everyone's working remotely from home, like you move to a big city like New York or Boston. This was happening in New York too, where like you move to a big city like that because of the accessibility of the businesses and things like that are there to your at your disposal, and commuting from the burbs to get into the city is always a hassle, right? So like you want to try to move closer, and that spikes up all the real estate. But then as everything went remote, and companies are remote till like a lot of companies even through like the middle of 2021, like they're staying remote. So people want to get out of Boston because they don't want to pay, or New York City because they don't want to pay the rents that it is to live there. And so they're getting out, and everything's going down again and people need more space because they realize like I can't, like two people in a 1-bedroom apartment, right? That are both working from home. Like how do you do that?
I think it's just generally cheaper overall. Like, I mean, I have 3 roommates, so obviously rent is considerably lower than some other situations, but it's still very livable. Like I'm living on the edge a little bit. I don't have a car. I'm kind of just working in the city, but it's doable, and I'm doing it. So, and that's just one of the biggest things I like about it. And even without a car, I can hop the train, go to Boston, and it's a walk away. Like, I don't know. I just appreciate that a lot more. Obviously, the country there's something to say about it. It's very, feels like going back to my roots a bit, but I like it in doses now. I much prefer the city.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I mean, especially in, like I said, normal times, I'm always a proponent of having access to the city and being in the environment for sure. Like whether it's shows or I'm a big Celtics guy, so I'm always in the city for Celtics games, and even just the nightlife. I was always a big fan, and different things that it offers. But yeah, man, no, I think it's good that you're in a place where you're feeling comfortable, and that I think that's the most important thing, right? Is like really you being in a comfort zone for you to be yourself and to be the artist and person that you want to be, right? So we're all trying to figure that out, I think.
I I mean, there's times I want to go to like LA, want to go to New York, but I'm kind of just playing it by ear and seeing what happens with the China Blue here. And I think there's a lot of people that are kind of craving this New England perspective, and
Yeah.
there's a certain like difference of opinion and bluntness. Like I would even say like Afford It wouldn't come out anywhere else. Like I don't know. Like this, it wouldn't come out of LA. I don't think. Like there's a certain, I don't know. I like the area here. I don't know. I hope that Providence and Boston would be like the there would be more money in Boston, obviously, but I think Providence has potential to be one of those like staple art scenes in cities. And I don't know, what I'm seeing, there's so much going on here. I think it's possible.
Yeah, I love what you just said about, you know, the New England experience, right? And the New England voice. It's just not anywhere, like it's not that prominent right now. And I think that, you know, you can talk about Boston music, right? Boston-based music, but you know, in essence, I mean, it's Massachusetts. You know, really, there's so many different like artists from different, not just Boston, right? That are dope in Massachusetts. Like even like someone like Dev Soter, he's not like technically a Boston artist. He's like more North Shore. But then when you get outside of that, it's like a two though. Thinking about the perspective of New England, like we don't have a lot of like nationally known even New England artists, right? So there's a lot of not to say that there aren't some, but you know, I think that overwhelmingly they're not like household names per se. It's the New York, it's the Chicago, it's the LAs, the Atlantas, right? But yeah, no, I think that you're right. People maybe I think here are craving someone, or not someone, just people to have a voice for New England as a whole. I'm curious though, is there a buzz in Providence, Rhode Island with like a music scene, or is it just more or less like more art? Like what kinds of art? Like I'm kind of curious.
It's very like multimedia, like all over the board. Like a lot of like cool animators, t-shirt designers, a lot of like filmmakers, photographers, and then the music scene is a little bit underground, and I'm definitely not, I'm like an outlier genre-wise, but it's still very much like thriving, and there's real communities. Like a lot of the venues are now shut, so you're not seeing as much of that, but there's a lot of like friends and connections to be made here. The one artist there's this girl, Henny. She has a song, 1-800-SLIDE, and she's kind of popping off a bit, and she's from Providence, which is really, which is just dope to see. Like I want to see more of that.
Heck yeah. But yeah, no, obviously, I think for you too, you are in essence, I think sound wise an outlier, and there's a lot of things that about you that are unique, and I enjoyed even your name, the China Blue, like that's just such a, you know, out there name, but it's so cool because like it sticks in your head, you know, and it's one of those names that you know, I don't think you forget very easily, you know. Yeah. I was reading the article you did with Boston Culture, actually, and you had mentioned a couple of things in there that I thought were interesting. One of them was obviously the name. We'll start there because it's just China and Blue, like we're just two names that, or like two, you know, yeah, names that words that you liked, and you just put them together essentially. Like it's pretty kind of simple as that.
Pretty much, like it doesn't mean anything. Like I'm not Chinese, and I don't necessarily identify with the color blue. It's more like a Pink Floyd kind of thing. Like the words are just words, and
right.
It works. I don't know.
No, I think it does too. I think it's a really cool, unique name, and then I was even reading too some of the people you like, influencers that you like Michael Jackson and others. To just name a couple, but another one that you mentioned was Joji, and I'm a big fan of his. Like I think Joji's a guy that is so underrated when it comes to mainstream music, dude. His latest album, Nectar, was incredible.
I know. Did you listen to the song with Benet?
Yes. Oh, yes. Afterthought, correct? That's the one. Yeah. Oh my goodness. That whole album. So spoiler alert for like, you know, really really big fans of our show, and you know, at the end of the year is approaching, so my list week is coming very soon. Within a month or so. But I would expect this album, the Nectar album, and at least a song from it to be on my year-end list of my top songs of 2020, because it's in albums, because I think it's that good. And yeah, that song dude, just the way he is able to utilize the melody and just like the atmosphere that he creates. I'm
It
such,
just
such
sounds
a
it
big
just
fan.
sounds like purely him. Like I don't know, he's just like right in his element. I don't think he's trying too hard at anything. Nothing sounds like weird to me. Like it just sounds like perfectly Joji, which I respect so much.
But no, I'm really a big fan of his. That's an album that I've been coming back to so much since it came out. So you guys just definitely go check that one out too, because he's got some good stuff, no doubt about that. Yeah, man. And with you, so like, what's coming next? You get the EP, obviously. I know, like, as I say that, you have so much coming next. The EP. You have obviously the music video, but for 2021, like what's the upcoming year looking like for you? Like where do you maybe see yourself going, or are you just more like a one day at a time guy?
Bit of both. Like I have a lot of goals and dreams to what I want this to become, but I have to take it day by day. Like it's so hard not to. But yeah, I have the Afford It video coming real soon. Everybody look out for that. I think it's gonna be really good. And then I have the EP, which will kind of carry me. I'm shooting for the end of this year, but if it brings me to January, like it'll be around there. And then I just plan on keep writing in that format, like these 6-7 song EPs for the time being. Next year I want to, like, legislation permitting, be able to focus on the live thing, because I think that's like an essential direction for me to go in, and I'm really excited for what I'm planning with that. And I just want to flesh out the China Blue more. I want to have, whether it's like merch, whether it's certain things, I'm planning on just doing all that and building the world up a bit more. So.
Well, you mentioned that when you jumped on. Actually, I said one of the things I was going to mention, so good job. But you mentioned that on the COVID episode that I did, and you had said, like, I think it's a lot of it is, an artist building their world. It kind of goes beyond the music, and I thought that's one of the quotes from that episode that really stuck with me, because I think it made so much sense, in a sense that, like, you have to look at it from as a totality, like, you know what I mean, like everything that's kind of in with it. And of course, like for you, the live show was kind of has been and for really everybody, honestly, it's been a bit of a halt. But what do you think you have to work on with the live show to kind of like, or your as a performer, for you to kind of continue to create that entire world, and like maybe what some other things you're doing, like specifically to create that world that you mentioned?
I mean, when it comes to like pure performance wise, I'm always just working on my voice, because I'm a relatively new singer, and I want to get that in as much top shape as I could before I start doing that. And then I'm working on like live sessions and stuff right now, and because especially for this EP, I want there to be something like a slightly less produced version of it, or like more organic way to hear the EP, and I'm planning on doing that soon, recording that potentially in a studio, probably like 3 songs from the EP or something, which is exciting because I've never done that. And then yeah, I'm just gonna play it by ear, and my goal is to have at least a show next year, whether it's like house shows or whatever, but just have to see what happens.
Yeah, I really hope that we can get back to some kind of semblance of shows, dude, because I think that, like, I think we're all craving that. Because the live streams, like, I have seen, and we had a conversation about this too, obviously on the same episode, the COVID episode, but you had mentioned, like, the live streams it's one of those things where, if it's not done properly, it can kind of not be as authentic, and just it's kind of not as engaging. And even though some people, like I had, for example, like Morningside Lane came on the show maybe about a month ago, and they talked about their live stream method and how it's more like a fully produced show. And their product is great, and there are artists that are doing that, but again, it just doesn't. It's still not the same. It's great that there's that at least alternative for now, but it's not the same as being there, like your ears ringing afterwards. You know what I mean? Like all that shit, that everything that kind of comes into and encompasses a live show.
Yeah, I think like I'll approach I don't know if I'll do a live stream. I'll have to see, but I'm gonna put out a set, whether it's like 2 or 3 songs, and I'll I'm just gonna touch it up and produce it mix wise. I want it to be still very like organic, but I just want, I don't know, something that's like easily digestible without losing like the live. It's a hard balance to find. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think that has been the sort of the caveat for artists right now is like how do I find that balance?
I think I mentioned this last time too. I think, I don't know, potentially the world could be going, or at least music could be going in a different direction potentially with that, and it's more about what we're producing on like the visual content side. Because I think the big thing about, or half of the thing about seeing your artist live is seeing them. Like, I think that's often like understated. Like, there's plenty of bands where like you don't care if they're sounding a little sloppy or whatever, but or if the mix isn't perfect, but it's just actually seeing them. That's like part of the experience. So I think, I don't know, we're probably working on ways to like compensate for that, whether it's, and not in like an influencer way where you have to like overexpose yourself, but more something, I don't know, more ways to like, yeah, like build the world, so to speak, and like get that like personal connection without like an actual show. Um, yeah, and we're working on like just getting a lot of footage of me and Tyler, just getting footage of like everything that we're doing, whether we post it or not, and working on like documentary type stuff. I don't know, just I think half of it's just like the personal connection, and whether it's like with a show or not, I think that hole will be filled. I don't know, but yeah.
A documentary would be super cool. I feel like a lot of artists are going towards that type of
Yeah, a lot of film, like behind the scenes stuff, without taking away the magic of it, because I don't want to do that either. But yeah, constantly finding out new ways to do it. But you said that artist, did they stream on like YouTube or?
Yeah, I think that I think it was also pre-recorded. I don't know, don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure they had mentioned that. I'd have to go back to the episode. I don't even quite remember the exact way that they said, but I'm pretty sure it's like a pre-recorded. Either it's a pre-recorded set or they do it live, but they record it as well and then like post it later on to YouTube. So it's like it's not necessarily you have to like watch it on like in the live stream, but they use like different types of, I think like people are using different like apps and platforms. Like I know Discord is a big one where you can like actually like record the legitimate audio like through Discord and then like attach it to like YouTube and things like that, and so that you get like the actual sound of it instead of just kind of like hearing it through like the phone speakers or like hearing it through like a computer speaker or something like that.
Yeah, something like that, or yeah, like I said, like maybe just like a live session that we try to like produce really interesting with like lighting and stuff, and make it like it won't be like on a stage, like an actual like concert stage, but something that's like visually interesting, and then like maybe touch it up later on with like mixing so that they're getting like the best version of or experience of it. But
right,
I don't know, just figuring that out like all the time. I don't really know.
Yeah, it's a tough thing to like really figure out. You know what I mean? It is. It's not one of those things where it just kind of, it happens. And I feel like a lot of these things, they become, fads and then they fade away a little bit. You know what I mean? So it's all about like, finding the next most creative way to get yourself out there. And we're even trying to do that too. You know what I mean? Because I feel like for me, I don't want to be tied down to like Instagram, you know what I'm saying? Especially for like promotional like things. Like we're looking very much outside of that right now to try to continue. I mean, a lot of our fan base and following is on Instagram, and that's great. You know what I mean? But I thought about it the other day. I was just like, if we're only on Instagram, and let's say Instagram someday just like disappears, right? Like all my marketing is going to just go away.
That's why like I think there's gonna be a huge pressure of like, I don't know, just building up like digital content across the board. Like I mean, it hasn't been just like a single like audio recording based industry in a while. Like we're past that for years, but I think even more so it's going to be like without becoming an influencer, how can you like stretch your level of exposure over like a bunch of different platforms while still making it like cohesive and unique? I think that'll be the challenge. Whether there's shows or not, I think that's where we're headed towards. Like very much like mixed media as opposed to just one medium.
For sure. For sure. And I'd be, yeah, at the other breath too, you know, it's like that will help. And I think, you know, with shows in a sense, like I always felt like I liked going to, I know a lot of people feel this way too, but I liked going to like festival style shows, or like, you know, when I was going to local shows that had like, you know, 5 to 7 like artists on the ticket, right? Like just to get that exposure. If you're a music fan, I feel like that is like what we do. Like as music fans, we go out and we try to consume and find new artists. That's why I loved, you know, like example, I haven't gone to a ton of festivals per se, but like I liked Boston Calling for that sense where it was like you could go literally find your new favorite artist. Like there was a couple of bands that I really like enjoyed from just going to Boston Calling, you know what I mean, that I hadn't known prior. And that is kind of without that type of just marketing that you don't consider, right? Like that, and even just, you know, financially not being able to do shows and really grow yourself as a platform too. It's difficult, man. And you know, like I think you bring up a good point though, is that regardless of what happens with shows, I do agree with you that I think new digital ways to market and create content, that's just going to continue. Like it's not going to stop at TikTok, you know what I mean? It's going to continue.
There's going to be all sorts of different things, and I think like it's going to be finding that balance because it's so like oversaturated too. Like how many people do you know are releasing music, posting it on their Instagram saying out now, and then like I don't know, there's something's going to have to change or else like none of us are going to grow. So I think it's whether there's like certain artists are like finding these new ways or there's going to be like a halt until there's new technology or something. I don't fully know, but we'll find out.
Yeah, we will find out. 2021, man. Hopefully it's a year that was much different than 2020, that's for sure. But, you know, I think the consensus is, yeah, this year kind of stunk. There was a lot of things that were bad about it, but you know, in a sense, this was a growth year, and I think we were all, as people, realized a lot about humanity, about the world we live in today, and you know how we not only consume content and get content out there, but you know how we just kind of interact with each other. You know, it's definitely like you said. It's like, yeah, how much do you see that every day? Especially being an artist, it's like my new song's out now. Like it's out now. Even for us, I'm fall victim to it too. It's like, oh yeah, you know, new episode. I'll do it for this one, right? Like new episode out now, but it's like on all streaming platforms. But it's like that's like link in bio. Like those sayings are getting, or those phrases are getting so like, oh, they are, man. It's like you seeing it. People are just like, oh, they're rolling their eyes, and I don't blame people. I agree.
Too like, I don't have the solution to that, but I know it's a problem and a growing one. Like with the accessibility of like music right now, and other things like podcasts too. Like that's another one. Like just it's so easy to get into, and now it's about like the level of like excellence in the content is what's gonna help you stand apart.
Exactly.
But that also is like hard to find when everybody gets the same treatment and level of like exposure. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like there's like there's still like the top 1% that like is there, and we all are like punching up trying to get there. But that still exists in the same way. Like before it was record labels, now it's like PR companies, publishers, at like sponsors. Like it's the same thing.
Right. Yeah, because we will see how this year unfolds, especially for content creators and just really anybody in general. But yeah, man, it's a lot of good stuff, a lot of things to hopefully look forward to. And like I said, I just want to restate this again. Like, you know, I'm just really glad that I came onto your music and your stuff, and I think you're doing really great things in the music industry and just with you know with your genre and your sound. And I think you're you're definitely on a good path. You have a good head on your shoulders, and yeah, I just want to commend you for all the moves you've made and everything you've been doing, and keep going forward, man, because I think your future's certainly bright.
I appreciate it. As always, thank you. I'm always willing to hop back on, and yeah, you're making this thing turn into a reality, so that's the best thing.
Doing the best I can, my man. With what I got to work with. But no, like I said, I'm happy to be a part of it too, and watch all you guys grow. Everybody that any Turntable Teachers alumni that have been on the show, shout out to all you guys, and I pull for all of you all the time. So you can you're the second time you've been on the podcast. You're always welcome, but I hope you're not done quite yet. I got my last question, the big one, the big Kahuna. Dream song scenario, baby. Here we go. The one where you were like, this all sounds great, but what's the dream song scenario? I'm like, well, here you go. So dream song scenario is here for the fans of our show. This is obviously my favorite question to ask. It's usually artist's favorite question I ask. If you can make a dream song with any artist, dead or alive, okay, I'll structure it for you a little bit. You get a producer or a couple producers if you want, and then you get 3 artists on that song. So someone do the hook, 2 guest verses, and you get a verse. Or if you want to do the hook, then you can get 3 verses if you want. But basically, producer or 2, 3 guest features for the song. Can be anybody, dead or alive. Who is on that China Blue song? Take as much time as you need.
Okay, it's my song.
Your song. Yes.
And I'm singing a hook on it. Okay.
You can do a verse and then get someone to do the hook and then 2 verses, or you can do the hook if you want and just get verses. So there's a little bit of freedom there, however you want. But traditional 3-verse song.
Yeah, I'm gonna have Kanye produce my track.
Nice.
And then I'm gonna bring Michael Jackson back for the main hook.
Okay.
That killer chorus.
I love it.
And then put a weird one in there. Put Sting.
Sting.
I want to see him feature on a Kanye track.
I didn't see that coming. I like that. You got one more. You got one more too.
Then I'll bring on the rap feature. Throw Kendrick on there.
Ooh, that's interesting. Kanye West production, China Blue featuring Michael Jackson, Kendrick Lamar, and Sting. What a! I think in the history of the Turntable Teachers, that is by far the most expansive dream song that we've had. The most just opposite ends of different things. But those are some musical geniuses, and even Kanye would say himself. So
Work, yeah. Throw it a little auto-tune on Sting with some reverb against I don't know, it might go crazy.
I mean, hey, it's your dream song, so you can do whatever it is you want with it. So that could be a fun one. That could be a fun one. I like that. So, like I said, China Blue featuring Michael Jackson, Sting, and Kendrick Lamar with production from Kanye West. Probably be a hit, people. But hey, man. Well, like I said, thank you so much for being here. This was a lot of fun. Tell the people where they can find you. Socials, all that good stuff.
At the China Blue on everything. And then on Spotify, just type in the China Blue. If you haven't heard it yet, my new song, Afford It's out on streaming platforms. Give it a listen. I'm really excited about that one. And video coming real soon. Thank you.
Awesome. You're welcome. Yeah, so we will link Afford It in the description, Shaking Bodies as well. Both those will be linked in the description, as well as China Blue's Instagram. So make sure you guys go follow him, stream those songs, especially if you liked the little sample we played earlier in this episode. If you're a fan of China Blue, and you're just coming on to us for the first time, follow us at Turntable Teachers on Instagram. You can find our website, www.turntableteachers.com. We got all the latest podcast episodes, blogs, merchandise. Got a lot of different types of content coming out. Big 2021 coming for us, and we got building quite the team back here. So stay tuned for that. Subscribe to us on YouTube, all that good stuff, and that all is also linked in the description. So once again, thank you so much to China Blue for being here. This was a lot of fun, great episode, and you are obviously welcome back anytime. And we will be plugging away those the new songs and music video when they do come out.
Yeah, thank you again. Can't wait to be back on soon.
Awesome, my man. All right, well, I'm Mike. This is China Blue with the Turntable Teachers, and class is officially dismissed.
Turntable Teachers. turn, 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 turn.